Welcome back to Floki's Models. Today we're going to be making a book nook built around the Geralt of Rivia figure we finished in the last video. So let's dive into the build. I'm going to start by cutting some foam core board for the top and sides, and some scrap pieces for the base, melting with a lighter to help build up the groundwork. A hole is made for the LEDs, and a trench is dug out to run the wires through. I removed the paper on one side of the foam core board to add stone block detail into later. I got these 3mm flicker LEDs on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description. I used an LED calculator to figure out what resistor I needed. I'll be using a 9V battery to power them. I also got these battery clips from Amazon. The LEDs get soldered to the resistor. I like to solder to the positive side. Quick test to make sure everything works before soldering the battery clip on. The LEDs get glued into the foam using CA glue and accelerator. The foam groundwork then gets PVA glued to a 1/2-inch piece of plywood. The left side of the book nook is set in place and is leveled. Using a paper template, I transfer over this wall and gate opening to a piece of foam board. I also removed the paper on one side of the foam board to add some block detail. I measure where I want the stone block detail to be at and add it with a pencil. It ends up being a pretty convincing technique. I add block detail to the right wall now as well, adding the back wall with room behind it to add the battery later. German Grey is mixed 1:1 with Mr. Leveling Thinner. I like to mix my paint up in these tattoo ink cups. This is sprayed on the left and back wall. I wanted a cloudy gray sky look, so I varied the coverage to get it. I also used the German Grey in the areas between the blocks. All the stone block areas were sprayed with Tamiya Medium Grey. On the other side of the gate, I'm going to add a tree made from scrap foam. Now for the gate. I'm using different gauges of styrene tubing and square stock for this, with hinges made from bent wire. To add a gap between the back wall and the gate area, I use some spacers made from scrap foam board. Then the foam that will become the tree is glued into place. And I mix up some Milliput to fill any gaps that I find. Milliput is a two-part epoxy putty that works great for gap filling. Some sticks are broke up to be used as logs for the campfire. They are burnt with a lighter to look the part. To get the foam to look more like a tree, bark texture is created using strips of TP. I use Scenic glue that is a mix of 45% Mod Podge, 45% water, and 10% rubbing alcohol. You want there to be a lot of wrinkles in the paper when you put it on, so you roll it into a ball or something first before adding it. A piece is added right on the corner to round it over more. Then the upper branch is given the same treatment. May not be the most convincing looking tree, but it will work good for this. The gate is painted in Alclad 2 iron, and Vallejo environmental rust effects is put around the hinges and a few other areas. This rust effects paint, when dry, leaves a realistic color and texture. After the tree is dry, it's time to paint it. I'm going to be using Vallejo Chocolate Brown. Vallejo German Camo Pale Brown is used for dry brushing to give the tree some highlights. Can start work on the groundwork next. I'm going to be using Vallejo Thick Mud for this. This stuff covers that gap in the foam perfectly. Some pebbles taken from the driveway is used for the fire ring. Doing a quick lighting test to make sure everything is still working. Then the logs get glued into their final position. I get the gate lined up and glued into its final position. Using Scenic glue, I add some flocking to the stone and the tree to simulate moss. This stuff is called Spanish moss. It comes in big bags, pretty cheap, that you can get from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, or probably any craft store that has a floral section. It's perfect for replicating vines and dioramas. It also takes CA glue really well to tack it down. Now to start closing her up, I'm CA gluing the right side on. I'm going to add some more flocking to hide the join line here. And more Vallejo Thick Mud to hide the join line at the bottom. This spacer is made from balsa wood. It won't be seen and it keeps the walls at the correct distance. I wanted the Witcher logo on the front under the viewing window, so I cut it out on the Silhouette portrait cutter. The outside of the book nook was spray painted Krylon flat black, and the vinyl mask was laid down on the front. The letters are readed out of the mask, revealing the Witcher logo. A few light coats of Tamiya red was sprayed over the mask. I think it turned out really well. And here it is completed. I'd added a piece of plexi to keep dust out, but even though you can see through it just fine in person, the camera just reflects right back at it. So I removed it, buggering up the opening in the process of doing it. The camera doesn't do it justice. This is just one of my bench lights on. As you can see, it's pretty dark. This is with both my bench lights on. It just washes the detail out. This was just the ceiling light on. Too dark to really see anything. I had a lot of fun building this, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If so, please like and subscribe, and there'll be many more videos to come.